now we are about to get into some health talk. And remember that this segment is actually brought to you by the Bank Hospital. And, well, I'm sure you're wondering, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're going to be talking about the most important meal of the day, they say. And it's actually the breakfast. And we're going to know why it's the most important meal, especially for those who don't eat breakfast like me. Brace up, because we might be hearing a lot of nuggets that we need to be writing or we need to be saving in our heads. And in the studio with me is Dr. Kelvin Owusu, who's a wellness consultant at Violet Medical Center. And of course, our in-house doctor. Hi, Doc.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
I'm very fine, thank you.
So why haven't you had breakfast?
Oh my God. I'm not a breakfast person.
That's not true.
That's what we all say.
That's what you tell yourself.
Yes, that's what we all say.
To convince yourself that it's okay, but it's really not okay.
So tell us, why is breakfast the most important meal of the day?
Well, I mean, so from where I sit as a wellness consultant, I deal with a lot of people with weight issues, with hypertension, with diabetes, with stress, you know. And not having breakfast is actually one of the should I say, indicators, right, of not being in control to a large extent. You know, I know a lot of people will try and argue this out, but the fact is the fact. You see, having breakfast, it takes some preparation, some planning, you know, so anticipation that, okay, I'm going to have breakfast tomorrow at a certain time.
Yes.
Then you prepare towards it. So if you have to wake up a bit earlier, you do that. If you have to iron your clothes, if you have to do some work, you know, you make adjustments to accommodate breakfast. But because many of us don't want to make those adjustments, you know, we keep telling ourselves that, oh yeah, I'll have breakfast later, or I'm watching my figure, etc. But as you go along, you find out that it's actually a very, very bad decision to make. So I'm actually happy that we're having this conversation. I hope that will change some perceptions out there.
Right. All right, so what about people who say they are into intermittent fasting and stuff like that? How does now come in?
So you see, the whole concept of intermittent fasting, I mean, yes, it does help to an extent, but it cannot be a lifestyle, should I say, it cannot be your way of doing things forever. You know, you can do it for a short period of time to achieve a certain goal. Maybe you want to fit into that particular dress for a dinner party in the next 2 months, so you prepare for
your wedding.
Exactly. So you do some form of, you know, dieting, intermittent fasting being one of the options, and then you make it to that party. You're happy about it, but it cannot be your normal way of life because at some point complications will set in. Yes, I mean every diet, should I say every weight loss diet, let me be specific, weight loss diet has a side effect if you abuse it or if you overdo it. You know, so it's in as much as all of them may have their benefits, they also have their drawbacks, so you need to be careful. All
right, so back to breakfast. So what can you share with us some of the nutritional benefits when it comes to having breakfast?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest benefit of breakfast is obviously that you recharge your nutrients, your nutrition, your energy. You know, people who have breakfast are more energetic, you know, for obvious reasons. I mean, you've taken some energy, you've replenished your glucose stores, you know, and it's called breakfast. So let's even start from the name. It's called breakfast. Break the fast.
Yeah. So you've been fasting throughout the night.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or the last time you had dinner.
Exactly. And you are up from bed now. You are going to face the day. The day requires energy. It requires you to be on the move, whether you are driving or you are walking or you are riding or whatever it is that however you are getting yourself to work. Requires energy. You're going to sit at the office and do mental work. You know, that also requires some energy. So you need to prepare yourself, give your body the fuel it needs to drive the rest of the day. You see, so the first obvious benefit of having breakfast is that it replenishes your energy stores. Secondly, people who have breakfast tend to be more alert mentally than those who don't have breakfast.
So that's the cognitive function.
Yes, breakfast actually improves cognition. You know, so now imagine how sharp you are now that you haven't had breakfast. If you actually had breakfast, you know, you'd probably be doing, you know, so now you are limiting your potential by not having breakfast. You know, the challenge though is that especially in our should I say culture, where we tend to have heavy breakfast. That's where the challenge is.
I was going to ask you that. So what's the right type of breakfast that one should have?
So the reality is that there's nothing necessarily like right breakfast per se. It depends on what you are going to do. So it depends on your activities. You know, so if you're a manual worker, obviously the heavy food might work for you because you are going to exert more physical energy than the one going to sit in the office. So the kind of breakfast you have depends on your expenditure. You see, because energy is like a currency. It's input output. If you take in too much energy and you don't use it, you gain weight. Like that's your bank balance. It gets bigger, and that's fat.
Right.
If you take less energy than you use, then you're going to lose weight because you're going to expend more than you have consumed.
Yeah.
So then you lose weight. So when you understand it this way, it helps you to manage, manage your breakfast. But of course, again, back to the name, because you've had a long fast, you don't want to eat something too heavy. Because, the stomach has been inactive, in quotes, for, 8 hours, 10 hours. So you want to start slow. Even our cars, the mechanics will tell you that when you actually start your car in the morning, you don't just start the car and step on the accelerator and rev the engine. No, you have to ease the car into the flow, for lack of a better word. So same with your body. So you want to start with something not so heavy, something on the light side, and then you kind of build it up gradually, you see. But the most important reason why you should actually have your breakfast is because having breakfast actually helps you manage your weight better.
I was going to ask that because people say that, okay, when you don't eat breakfast, like intermittent fasting, it kind of helps you lose weight. But I've also read it's the opposite, actually. You have to eat. So can you explain why you have to eat to help you with weight management, especially if you want to lose weight or you want to maintain that figure?
I like that you mentioned intermittent fasting again, because that's a source of confusion, really, when it comes to this subject. But you have to remember that intermittent fasting is a deliberate strategy where you sort of reduce your energy intake, so it's not an arbitrary thing that you're doing. So that's how come if you actually do it well, you could end up losing weight. But generally, people who skip breakfast, they tend to have much heavier meals later in the day.
Yes.
And that negates what they were trying to achieve, you see, because the body is structured such that you can't eat for tomorrow today.
Yeah.
In quotes.
Yeah.
So when you eat right now, it will take what it needs right now. And whatever excess is actually stored as fat for a later time. You see, so it's not going to keep the food there for you to utilize it during the day. It's because you speak to people and they say that because I skip breakfast, I'm going to eat 2 balls of kenkey. The body doesn't recognize it in that way. It would, if the body needs only 1 ball of kenkey at that time, that moment, that's all it's going to use. So people who skip breakfast eat heavier lunches, and that then makes them store more fat.
Right.
You see?
Right.
And if you stretch it also, because people who haven't eaten breakfast are slower, from my earlier discussion, it could also go to sort of cause them to store a bit more fat because they are not utilizing as much energy as they should have expended because they haven't had breakfast. The energy level is already low. So when you eat breakfast, it helps you to manage your subsequent meals better, so that you're not eating as much lunch, and even you're not eating as much when it comes to dinner. Because portion sizes make a big deal when you're talking about your weight.
Okay, so like it just goes back to the saying that some people say eat like a king in the morning and eat like a queen in the afternoon, and in the evening eat like a peasant. So it's like reduce it. But when you do not eat breakfast, people tend to want to eat the king's food and the queen's food and the peasant's food, everybody's foods together, and that's what happens.
Yes. So for me, in my experience, and even though this is not necessarily backed by research, if you're actually planning on skipping a meal or substituting a meal, I would go for lunch, especially if you're a corporate worker.
So you have to eat breakfast,
and then you skip lunch, or you substitute lunch with something, maybe a fruit, or just a snack, And the reason is that most corporate workers, when you go out and have lunch, you go and eat banku fufu or whatever it is, you come back and you sit behind the computer.
I feel like you become very tired.
Exactly.
Yeah, and sleepy.
Exactly.
And I don't know why we do that.
And you're not even going to expend much energy because you're in the office, you're just typing.
Exactly.
Or just going around the office. So the energy content in a bowl of fufu, banku, kenki is high because there's a lot of carbs in there. And
so you're supposed to be burning it, but instead you're sitting
in the office,
back.
You're not burning it. So then you start gaining weight. And then you're asking yourself, but I don't even eat breakfast. You see, and if you couple this with the fact that, the office setting it tends to be stressful. Targets, bosses, traffic, all these are things that are already going to make you gain weight. So now if you add excess carbs to your life, then it's obvious that you are going to have problems with weight. And once your weight starts going up, then you begin to develop insulin resistance, which will then lead to diabetes. And hypertension. You see, so one thing leads to the other, and it all started because you skipped breakfast.
Well, now it makes sense, because you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, ever since I started this job, I started gaining weight."
Oh yes.
You are probably the one doing it yourself. Okay.
Through your bad habits.
Yeah. So let's go back to the cognitive function of human beings, but now for children. You know, a lot of people. A lot of homes tend to say, okay, we're skipping breakfast, and then the child will even the child skips breakfast sometimes, or doesn't even eat adequate breakfast, and then goes to school, and they'll say, oh, he will eat lunch later on. His lunch is a very big one. So how does this affect children, or does this affect children when they also skip?
Yes, it does affect children. I mean, the sins of the father will be visited on the children. So we need to do things right so that children can learn better. Typically, what happens is that the whole family skips breakfast because they are running late, which then becomes a part of the culture, and the child is giving money to sort themselves out.
Something.
Then they go in there and to whichever shop in there, they buy the sugar drinks and the biscuits
and the Vitamilks and the things.
Exactly, and these are all processed foods, which shoot straight into the blood. So now the children are also becoming obese. So childhood obesity is now a thing. It's becoming a big deal in Ghana.
So would you say those sugary things or those sort of like snacks are not best for morning? No.
They are not. So let's put it this way: we should be eating less processed foods and more of the I don't want to call it organic, because organic is a bit expensive, so everybody, you know. But the less processed the food is, the better, you know. And so we need to be shifting away from white stuff. So white sugar, white rice, white flour,
everything, white bread,
Yes, and then shift more towards the brown variants, you know. And so when we do that, then we are improving our eating habits, our healthy eating choices, you know. But the children are now having breakfast in the shops. So they go buy a drink here, box juice here, some biscuit here, and that's what they are taking for breakfast.
Drink in the morning.
Exactly, you know. And so childhood obesity is a big deal, and it's because of the poor management of our homes, you see. And when coupled with, or to add to that, now when you've now closed from work and picked the children up and you're heading home, because they've been in school the whole day, they are tired, they are hungry, we now buy them more snacks in traffic. You know, so then snacks on the way home, they sit in the car, they hardly exercise, they get home late because of traffic, they hardly play, they are on their phones or their tablets or their video games, you know, so the children are now expending energy. And it comes back to this child obesity. And child obesity is now linked to adult problems. So a child who is overweight as a child will develop significant problems as an adult much earlier. So the problems of obesity, the diabetes, the hypertension, and its complications will start earlier in that child, you know. So if we fail to plan and have breakfast, it will reflect in our children as well, you know. So breakfast is important both for psychological reasons and also for physical reasons as well. So it's very important.
Right. Now, what about people with specific lifestyle diseases, say diabetics or gluten intolerance? Now, how do these people actually, you know, get better in preparing their own breakfast?
Well, I mean, it starts with getting information from the right source, first of all. I mean, too many people take information from social media and friends of friends, you know. Let's go to the right source, talk to your doctor, and probably talk to your dietitian or nutritionist as well, so that they can craft or they can structure a proper meal plan that will help you deal with whatever you're going on. But as you are sitting here right now, there's hardly any medical condition that will prevent you from eating meals at the time that you're supposed to eat them. What they would say, or what we would do is that, okay, so for instance, somebody who is gluten intolerant will have to avoid foods that contain gluten, and thankfully a lot of them are now coming with labels, you know, so you can avoid them. Somebody who is lactose intolerant can avoid, you know, lactose or milk products and then go for other alternatives. There are alternatives now, you know, but there's no way we will say that don't eat breakfast because of this or that. You know, we will say manage what you are eating, you know, so that you can still get the energy you need to go on and do what needs to be done. Because ultimately, even though we didn't touch on it, skipping breakfast can also cause you to develop ulcer.
A lot of things.
Yes, definitely a lot of things.
Wow. All right. So before I actually let you go, what is the best time?
Now that's a difficult question to answer.
Yes, because I have to come here very early in the morning. I have to be on air at 7:30. So what is the best time for someone like me to eat breakfast?
But I mean, I dare say that because you have to come to work early, you also tend to close a bit earlier and go and sleep earlier to make up for the time. So it depends on your schedule. You know, so when you wake up, you've done and I mean, as a wellness consultant, you need to exercise in the morning.
Yes.
But that's another subject for
I do
another
the
day.
evening, actually. Yeah.
Well, morning is better, but we'll talk about that later. So you've done your exercise, then you've taken a shower, you've relaxed a bit, you have your breakfast, and then you set off for your day. Now, if you cannot do that, when you arrive at the office, you can have your breakfast. The challenge is when people try to have brunch.
Yes. Brunch is become a thing.
It sort of comes back to the same point. It tends to be heavier than usual because it has to cover for the
morning and the
afternoon. You know. So I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's a difficult question to answer, but find what works for you. Of course that might mean skip breakfast, but no. In as much as possible, you're supposed to have 3 meals: breakfast, lunch, and supper. The one that comes with a strict timeline is actually supper.
Okay.
Between eating and sleeping,
yeah, there should be some
hours. At least 4 hours.
4 hours, yeah.
You know, so if you know you're going to sleep at 10, you should be eating by 6. So that is the one that is kind of fixed. The rest of them are, variable some way, somehow.
Yeah. Okay, variable with good portions.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
And good movement. Not a sedentary lifestyle.
Definitely.
All right, thank you so much, Doc. It was really nice talking to you. And I'm going to take my breakfast very seriously. In fact, I'm going to start meal preps from tonight, all right? Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, now you know why it's important to eat your breakfast. But Doc, how can people reach out to you?
Well, I'm quite active on social media, Kelvin, also MD on all channels. And you can also follow our clinic page as well, Violets Medical Center on all channels.
Okay, so that was Dr. Kevin Owusu, a wellness consultant at Violets Medical Center. If you want to reach out to him, feel free to reach out to him. He has just called out his social media handles. So yeah, please go out there, follow him and ask your questions, and also you should visit your clinic. At the same time, remember that this is brought to you by the Bank Hospital.